What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all so much for being here. My name is Limbo, and I'm super excited to be here to introduce you all the best hour you have ever received in your entire life. This hour is jam-packed with hope, positivity, optimism, gratitude, the whole nine, baby. Just as beautiful as the sun is outside, it's as beautiful as the person right here watching this. Pull up a chair, grab a couple shots, kick your shoes off, let your hair down, and get ready for the show, baby. I hope you guys enjoy it, because I'm going to enjoy it. Let's go!
Hey, listen up, y'all. I'm gonna shout out this young gun right here because he's trying to do his thing. Joseph JAFFE, not famous. Probably rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm famous because, he not famous. And he like, yo, let me call my famous friends and see if they'll shout me out and make me more famous, sir. Right? But so, Joseph JAFFE, man, it's cool. You got your late night talk show popping off. That's what's dope. Streaming, been doing your thing, man. Started this in March of the 2020, which is, tough throughout the years, but booking great guests, man. Jamal Mashboard and James Rollins, steady building it, man. Keep it popping off, man. Keep building your brand, man. Believe in yourself. Keep going hard, all right? That's what it's all about. One of these days, this little acronym of yours, not famous, is not going to be true. People going to see you in the mall and be like, I know who you is. Them going to be your cousins saying it all incorrect like that. But you know what I'm saying? You know what you going to do. What you going to do? They family. All right, bro. I'll holler.
A spring in your step. There is a twinkle in your eye.
I can throw a rhyme down for you real quick. Yes, they call me Thrill. They say that I'm the man. You disagree, how could you? Let me make you understand.
Should we bring her on the show? And anybody find me? And there she is.
Fresh as some bread, provided from the oven. When you feel rejected, you get some like a loving.
Take on me.
She looks wonderful. Mom looks amazing.
Somebody to. Okay, Mom, bugger off now. I've got to show it to you.
Like that?
Joseph JAFFE, ladies and gentlemen.
You just made the new intro of the show. Well, happy Thursday, everybody. It is October 21st, and right now it is 2 a.m. in the morning in the future in London, in the UK. I think that's where my guest is, and hopefully she is sleeping sound, but this is using the magic of time travel to make sure that we are coming to you at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I am Joseph JAFFE, and I am your not famous host, and I am bringing you JAFFE coin. Right now, that QR code that you see above me, that code is live, and if you point your phone to it, you will get some JAFFE coin. It is only live between 9 and 10. Mr. Tom Morris is here. He said, we made it to Thursday. Greetings, everyone. And Tom will be in later. Tom has his weekly vignette. He is our resident philosopher, and tonight's vignette will be on philosophy. The philosopher philosophizing about philosophy. Does that make sense? Well, it should. Here's something else that may not make sense, but hopefully it will. My NFT. My NFT just launched, and I'm waxing lyrical about the NFT. You can actually buy an NFT, nft.rally.io/JAFFE Juice. You'll get an ebook of the first 50 interviews of my show. You'll get access to pre-tapings like this one, audition shows, reunion shows, maybe even backstage passes or other Easter eggs. And then the one on the right is not for sale. It's only for my guests, for VIPs like you, Tom Morris, who's watching right now because you're a previous guest and a correspondent. And my guest tonight will get one of those VIP NFTs. It's just a great way of continuing to build equity, economy, engagement, community around this little experiment that I call Joseph JAFFE, not famous, and probably rightfully so. Well, now we're going to get into our seated soliloquy, and I'm going to take a moment and pause a little bit. Sometimes, certainly, there is a bit of ridiculous on the show. but maybe we back off to a little bit of sublime and even take a pause for a moment. My guest tonight has gone through a loss, a personal loss. And I'm always inspired by my guest, or inspired by whether it's their platform or even just what's going on in their life. And so, Dion, this was created for you, and certainly in memory of your grandmother. The thing about grief is that it is truly universal. It's timeless. There are no rules or best practices because it is so deeply personal. When I lost my father at the age of 4, I thought life had dealt me the most unfair of blows. I mean, it kind of did. But when it came to mourning the loss of a parent, I always thought that I was special. Until a friend of mine lost his father at the age of 17. Despite having had 13 more years with his father, his grief was no different to mine, which is because his loss was no different to mine. He too lost a father. As I've grown up and throughout the years, I've witnessed this again and again and again. It never gets easier and you never get used to it. And yet, there is light. Whether it's continuity in the form of a namesake or it's keeping memories alive through the power of technology, video and such, they live on. We're so fortunate to have so many ways of maintaining contact and communication and capturing memories while we still have our loved ones with us. But are we paying attention? Are we capturing these moments naturally, but also with intent? We don't have to dust off fading black and white photos anymore of our ancestors. We can just point the next generation to their TikTok channel. Okay, maybe that's a bit extreme, but you get my drift. Another insight that I've learned over the years is that the real loss is not the departed soul, but rather those that are left behind. And if you believe, and it's comforting to believe, that they are in a better place, then spare a thought for those who have to deal with friends and relatives and all the dysfunction and chaos of the soap opera we call life, the ones that are left behind. In my religion, we wish those surviving a loss long life. Is that what we really want and need? A long life? Or perhaps a good life? Or how about a full life? One thing I know to be true: every moment is a memory. Every memory is a moment. So let's make sure we seize every moment and every opportunity that we have with our loved ones to create the kinds of memories that endure and live on long after we depart. And now it's time to bring on Dion Johnson, the womanologist. I absolutely love the title. Dion Johnson, aka the womanologist, is an ex-midwife and public service executive turned award-winning international strategic ally and master coach to women in leadership. Her book, Influential Woman: A Fresh Approach to Tackling Inequality and Leading Change at Work, was published by Hay House in November 2020 and is already receiving great reviews internationally. Dion was born with a pronounced facial disfigurement. Her story of unmasking is a powerful metaphor that is now captivating and inspiring leaders across the globe to show up, speak up, and shake things the hell up authentically within their sphere of influence too. She's passionate about and uniquely skilled to help women rise above professional challenges and hashtag be more influential in their roles. Let's say hello to her. Dion, welcome to the show.
Oh gosh, I tell you, I've already laughed, cried, danced, all kinds of things in just these few minutes of the show. I'm delighted to be here.
So we can basically just end. We'll roll credits right at the end. We're done.
Good.
So Dion, you are guest number 291, and as I always say, my best guest to date. Even though Tom Morris is watching right now, and I know he, of course, I met him as a guest. This is what happens: guests become community, community becomes family. But I'm thrilled that you're with us. I'm thrilled because I know that you've gone through a tough time, and about an hour ago, I think I found out that you were going to be on the show, and I was like, hell yeah. You said, I'm up for it if you are. And I was like, of course, of course.
Yeah.
It is today, everything, it's funny how things work out. Today is Celebration of the Mind Day. And I was thinking, certainly as we get older, sometimes, our body fails and our mind is strong. Sometimes our mind fails and our body is strong.
Yeah.
But certainly, I think it is important today to celebrate the mind when it is at its strongest, even when it's at its weakest, and the power of the mind to create connections and just those meaningful moments that I spoke about in the soliloquy.
Yeah, I completely agree. I often have people send me private messages about my candor and my willingness to share what the 411, what's really going on. People say you're brave, or you're courageous to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I think that it's our responsibility to teach the world that life has its ups and downs. We have our ups and downs. Sometimes we feel on top of the world, and sometimes we feel down deep in the valley. And we've got to stop pretending that it's always up, that we're always on, that it's always good, that nothing goes wrong, that we've got our ducks in a row. That's a term that I hear, a lot. I want to have my ducks in a row the whole time. Well, sometimes life's not like that. So I feel like it's a good thing that we start to make it normal to be human and normal.
Yeah, I mean, celebrating the downs as well. And if not celebrating them, certainly acknowledging them,
Yeah,
acknowledging. Now, it's funny because, I mean, I throw it back to you with respect to even discussing social media. I mean, we have so many interesting components. We have the facade of a perfect life where so many people will paint a false narrative or picture. And then on the flip side, we tend to have what I think is, sometimes oversharing, or what I've come to know as trauma dumping. Um,
yes,
I would love to hear your thoughts about how do you find the balance between, you speak about the ups and downs, the roller coaster of life.
yeah,
How do you smooth that out, and instead of having extreme ups and extreme downs, extreme highs and extreme lows,
yeah.
present something that is much more even and consistent and authentic?
Yeah, do you know, that's such a powerful question. And I think that the answer is really rooted in a couple of things: purpose and mission. I think that as we grow as leaders with and develop clarity around who we are, what our life is about, why we're here, what we want to do in the world, the difference that we want to make, the reason for our being. As I've walked that walk personally and grown in my understanding of these things, some things just aren't relevant to share. Like, if I want to empower and equip, then you don't need to know what color my underwear is today. Like, unless you do. Unless you do. Like, you don't need to know what my favorite sexual position is, unless you do. If I know what I want to talk about, if I know what difference I want to make, then that's kind of the yardstick. Then that's kind of the filter through which I decide what needs to be shared. And oftentimes when we get that oversharing or that pointless sharing, that vomiting, that sort of like
Mm.
blah. It's because people haven't done the thinking about why they're talking. Like, what's their aim, what's their goal, like that. This is important work. It's kind of like when I was thinking about talking to you today, this is exactly what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, what are we doing with our life? What are we doing with our, why are we here, like individually and collectively? We need to be asking those kind of questions, especially now in this time of great opportunity to build back better, build a stronger world, challenge some of our most difficult, challenging, prolific predicaments. Like, there's a real opportunity that we have on our hands, and I think it's rooted in exactly this, like understanding who we are and why we're here, and stopping with all of the childish blah, playing games and one-upmanship and trying to look like this and pretend to be that and fit in over there. I call that masking, and I'm sure we'll talk more about masking as we go along today.
Well, yes, and of course we'll talk about what your platform, which is unmasking. But I certainly love. I mean, I guess in my past I might have spoken about having verbal diarrhea.
Yeah.
But then you spoke about vomiting, which is a much more expressive way of people saying, think first, speak. And I love the way you said, and by the way, I will not be asking you about your underwear or your sexual positions, but I do have it on good authority that you like wearing your clothes back to front. So whilst we won't talk about underwear, you're going to have to share with us. I told you, you will get all the emotions on this show. Are you wearing any clothes back to front right now?
Well, I'm not today.
And why do you wear them back to front?
Well, you know what? Sometimes clothes to me just feel energetically better when they're on the wrong way. I can't explain it. It's got something to do with the neckline, just the way that they sit on my body. I really like the way that clothes feel when they're back to front often. So yeah.
I love that energy of clothes. I didn't know, and I didn't know. Now, here's something else that I didn't know, which is when we went and found some fun facts about you. One of the things that we found is that you have always a song in your head, and in fact, you wake up every morning. Every morning when you wake up, there's a song playing in your head. I'm
Yeah.
sure that this has changed a little bit going through this tough time that you have of late. But I do have to ask you, what song was playing in your head this morning?
Gotta be bad, you gotta be strong, you gotta be wiser, you gotta be hot. I don't know the words, but love will save the day.
Love will save the day. Yeah.
That was in my mind this morning. Love will save the day. And honestly, it hasn't changed through the grief of losing my gran. In fact, I don't know, maybe it's just gotten a bit stronger. I really received messages through songs playing in my head. And guess what? So did my gran. So my gran, she was 101 when she died. And, for the last sort of 6 to 8 years, she'd be talking about that man upstairs who was playing all these records from her childhood. And she really thought there was a man upstairs that no matter where she was, wherever we took her, there was always this man upstairs playing this music. And she was going, there he is again, like playing these records, of these old spirituals, or the old spiritual songs from her past. She'd hear them and she'd get so excited about this man who was obviously Jamaican. He was obviously a Kingstonian, because he was upstairs playing the songs that they used to sing in Kingston in her childhood. So it's not just me. She refused to think it was just in her head. She really thought he existed. But, I think what a great thing to inherit from my grandmother.
What a beautiful story. And now we know that God is Jamaican, which is fantastic, because
yeah, sure he is.
I'm gonna go visit him because it's a little bit closer for me. Yeah. Tom says it's often pointed out to me that I have a t-shirt on backwards or inside out, and then I realize why I've had more ideas than usual. So there's that. So we understand that the energy is creative
Tom knows
energy.
where it's at.
And he says, I love this guest, the true philosopher. Dion is already a blessing to us all. Well, I think just before we even continue, this would be as good a time as any to play Tom's vignette this week, which is aptly titled On Philosophy.
Hey, everybody. I've come to believe that philosophy is about to make a comeback. And no, that's not just because I'm a philosopher in need of work. Think about this for a second. As we've all experienced recently, this world is full of surprises. The resurgence of philosophy may be the one surprise that most helps us deal with all the others. Look at the word itself, philosophy. It comes from two Greek root words, philo, love of, sophia, wisdom. An object of love is such that if you lack it, you pursue it. If you have it, you embrace it. So philosophy is just the pursuit and embracing of wisdom. Yeah, but what is wisdom, you might ask? That's a bit trickier. On one level, it's embodied insight for living. It's never just words in your head, but an inclination in your heart. On another level, it's guidance and guardrails, a beacon to lead us forward, and a built-in protective structure for the journey. But on an even deeper level, wisdom is a transformed life, one of discernment, perspective, and proper emotions, as well as attitudes and beliefs. It's a way of being in the world with curiosity, humility, and compassion. We need all that now more than ever before. And philosophy is just what we've been doing for the past minute or so. I think we need to do a lot more.
Hear, hear.
That's why I love Tom.
Yeah, powerful.
One of the really like smartest definitions that I've heard is this idea of wisdom equals guidelines and guardrails, for life. And it's just a great way to think about almost like this idea of a true north and north star. And by the way, Tom adds, he says, I like this guy also, this Morris guy, and he's managed to. So now he's commenting on himself, which I guess is narcissism, Tom. Stop it. Dion, let's go back to your story, because in reading your bio, and there was just something that I think that a complete disconnect. You said a pronounced facial disfigurement, and I don't know what you're talking about. I can't see anything. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if maybe it was somebody else's bio, but in all seriousness, I mean, what you were telling me in the green room before, when I said, tell me about yourself, I was like, you know what? I wanted to say, stop, save it for the show. But it was also because the way that you kind of, and you started off, and you know what? I'm going to actually turn it over to you. You said, I'm a woman in a man's world. And then you continued. So please, if you will, share that again with us, because your story is so, inspirational and uplifting.
All right, so I'll see if I can remember how to say it right. What I said to you in the green room was that I am a woman in a man's world. I am a Black woman in a white man's world. I am facially different. I really was born with a very pronounced facial disfigurement. So the lower part of my face didn't develop properly. The top part of my face was asymmetrical. So I spent a lot of time having corrective surgery as a young child right through to my adult life. So I'm a facially different woman in a beauty-obsessed world. There's so many strong messages about what it means to be a beautiful woman or be a beautiful human being. And so that's always been a thing. And I'm also a Christian, like one of those, real active in my faith kind of Christians in a world that's religion phobic and in a world that's secular. So for a lot of my life, like way into my adulthood, these really key foundational things about me felt like black marks, felt like disqualifiers for people who, people like me, I thought, unconsciously thought, not, I didn't go around rehearsing this, but I realized, I found out that I held these deep beliefs that people like me, Black women with facial disfigurements who love Jesus, don't get to have a say, don't get to be thought of as credible or important. And so this is, you know, this was how I navigated the world, holding this unconscious belief that I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, I'm not a white man in high office. You know, so yeah, I grew up that way, and it wasn't until 2009 really when really life stopped me in my tracks. You know, I was born with a facial disfigurement, and when I was 4 years old, I was gifted with an artificial eye. It was like a plastic shell that fit over my disfigured eye, and it was painted to look like, can't see, it was painted to look like my good eye. So it was this plastic shell. I've put it over my disfigured eye, and then they gave me these big dark glasses, and these were my, I didn't call them back then, but now I call them my masks. So they were given to me to hide, they were given to me to help me blend in, like hide my facial flaws, look more normal, look like you know, beautiful like you. And so that's how I lived my life. I lived my life behind these masks. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't let anybody see me behind, you know, my artificial eye and dark glasses. And I didn't question it. Like, that's what I learned. I learned that if something wasn't normal about you, if something wasn't right about you, if something was different about you, then you need to hide that thing. You need to put that thing behind, like you had to find some way to conceal it. And so that's why I lived my life hidden. I lived my life concealed until 2009, when, you know, it was just like this dark night of the soul year. Like, the world was going crazy. On one hand, there was all of this talk about change. The Black man had moved into the White House, which was something that nobody thought we'd ever see in our lifetime. So this Black man was moving into the White House. Michael Jackson died that year, so we were all celebrating this godlike entertainer. And, you know, Hillary Clinton looked like she might be president at one point. So, you know, there was all this amazing stuff happening. And then on the other hand, the UK was officially in financial crisis. Like, we were officially in recession. And so there were these two camps of conversation happening in 2009 that I found myself trapped in between. There was this talk about all these godlike people who did amazing things, and then the rest of us, you know, the people who were just doomed because of the financial crisis. And I didn't know where I fit in that. I wanted to be great, but my life wasn't, oh, it looked good, you know, it looked all right, you know, I was doing okay, but my life wasn't reaching that kind of star status. And yet I hated the thought of being in that other group, the ones that were doomed and at the mercy of this financial crisis that we were all struggling against. I just didn't know where that, and that really troubled my soul. And I wrestled. I wanted to be great. I felt like I was great on the inside, but on the outside, I struggled to express that greatness. I didn't know how to take it to another level, how to make my impact in the world more sustainable and more marked. I wanted to. So there was this real battle. And then right in the middle of all of that, you know, 1 week, just everything started to turn in 2009. This young boy just called me ugly in front of a group of people. And his words really, really hurt right there. But in that time, I noticed that even though I was hurting on the inside, it's like my eyes were opened up to the fact that I didn't respond. I didn't respond on the outside. On the inside, I was really hurting, but on the outside, nobody in that room could tell how his words had hurt me. And I really noticed that, Joseph. I really noticed that there was these two things going on with me, this like composed outside and this pain on the inside. And I noticed that, and through that week there were other things that would just go like this, and it was all about my face and my facial disfigurement. So by the end of that week, I found myself with my hands up in the air like this, saying, God, you know, like, what on earth? Like, something's hurting, my life's hurting, this, and it all seems to be about my face. And then I had this conversation. I like to say I had a conversation with God. You might say my higher self, or, you know, the universe. I had a conversation. I heard questions rising up from that still small voice on the inside of me saying, you know, why are you hiding, Dion? When are you going to show up for real? When are you going to let people see the real you? Well, I thought they were foolish questions. I thought, God, you know, like, what do you mean? Like, look at me. And as I wrestled with these questions, I found out that truly inside of me, I carried this belief that I was just grotesque, that, you know, it wouldn't be fair to subject my real face, my true self, to the onlookers, to other people. Like, I had an obligation, a duty to hide, because, you know, people might not like it. People might not want to see this face. And I discovered that this was really how I was thinking about myself. This was really how I justified that the artificial eye and the dark glasses for those 40 years. You know, this was how I believed that there was no way that I could really show up for real. And I didn't know how, but while I was there with my hands up in the air like this, I made up in my mind, you know what? I'm going to find a way to show up for real. I'm going to find a way to let people see my face. Back there in 2009, it was just about my face. But the journey has been incredible, Joseph. And what I've learned is that I was hiding not just my face, but I was living a life of hiding. I was living my life in hiding. There were so many aspects of me that I had become so disconnected from, that I just wasn't bringing to the world. And so that became an explanation as to why my life felt like I had one foot on the gas and simultaneously one foot on the brake. Like, I felt like my life was stuttering. And this whole thing, with starting with that boy calling me ugly, just really opened it all up. And I realized I've got to find a way to show up for real. And I realized that meant I had to find out who the heck I was and what that meant. Like, how do I show up for real? What does that mean? What does that look like? How do I show up for real? At first I was talking about my face, but it became so much more than that. So yeah, unmasking.
I mean, it's so. Isn't it interesting how today's celebration of the mind? By the way, we have a live studio audience that is celebrating you today. Isn't it funny how it's celebration of the mind day, and here you were, I mean, with this incredible mind being defined by your face, by the most superficial
Yeah.
of appearances. But there's no question, and it's funny when you talk about being a Black woman with a disfigurement. That's what makes you who you are. You
Yeah.
are different. You are special. You are unique. There is no one quite like you. And the reality is that there are so many people that just look like everyone else. And what do they bring to the table? And I think
Yeah.
it's clear to me. And your platform isn't just talking about. I mean, your platform. What you've done is you've expanded the platform, and you represent women, you know. And
Yeah.
I just want to say before you respond, it's like when you say I'm a woman in a man's world, it hurts me, you know. It not even as a white male, but just as a male, like it hurts me because it's unfair. And you know, and even today in 2021, for you to say that, it just it challenges me to want to be a better man or human, because no one should have to introduce themselves that way. No one should.
Like, you say so many things, and you're saying so many things. I think it's hard to even know where to start responding to what you're saying. I've learned how to show up for real. That's what this process taught me. And it was like a painful, dark night of the soul. Like, learning how to let you look at me without my physical mask on is a powerful metaphor for the journey that I've been on. Allowing you to see me, hear my thoughts, use my real voice, share my opinions, call things out, say no, say yes, all of that. That's what I've been working out. It just stopped being about my face on the journey. And it took me a couple of years, but as I started to share my story, yeah, it really did take me a couple of years in business, especially. I took down all my profile pictures, and I just had like logos and things where profile pictures go, because it just felt like I didn't know who I was presenting anymore to the marketplace. And it took me a couple of years to really start to get a sense of the real me, who I wanted, who I am, and who I want to be in my world. And when I started sharing my story a couple of years later, after 2009, I started getting mail from people all around the world, like men and women, but mostly women, who said, I'm not a black woman, or I am. I don't have a facial disfigurement, or I do, but I know exactly what you said. I'm hiding. I'm not showing up for real. I'm not speaking up. I'm playing small. I'm covering. I'm holding back. I'm not showing up for real. Like, people identified with my story, like beautiful women, and not just beautiful women, well-to-do women, women who had climbed and achieved amazing things, women who were in boardrooms and high-level conversations. These were the women that were reaching out to me and saying, gotcha, I get it. I understand that hiding, because I'm hiding too. And it really started to bolster my work. So it opened up the floodgate for me to share my perspective on what I've been learning on my journey, and they were sharing their perspective on what they were learning on their journey. And I learned some incredible things. Like, I learned that you can be a highly successful on the outside, and on the inside be completely disconnected from the true you. I learned that you can. I learned that you could. I learned that you could have it all. Have the trappings. Be where society tells you that you should aim to be, and not have a sense of who you really are, and how it is to show up as the real you. And so what I've been learning became highly relevant, not just to people with physical differences, but people who were being called, especially now at this time in our history, where boards and high level conversations are looking for new ways to develop systems and create new outcomes. We need people bringing their new ideas. We need people bringing their authentic selves. We need people to share what it is that they care about, or what it is that they've been learning in life, and how it's relevant to our big struggles right now in the marketplace and in the world. So that's where I've sort of set up my camp. I've set up my camp in the places where we need women particularly to use their voice powerfully. I like to say, to step out of their heads and into their power, where they can show up authentically and speak up powerfully and shake things up influentially, so that our world changes.
Actually show up, speak up, and shake things the hell up, I might add.
Absolutely. I love saying that.
Again, now I'm going to say you said a lot of things. This is like a good game of intellectual tennis.
Yeah.
But I'm so frustrated because I saw it was a celebrity quote. It was a quote from a celebrity, like a guy like Ryan Reynolds, someone like that, and he said, I wish that everyone could have or experience fame, fortune, status in order to realize that none of that is really what's important. And
Yeah,
I wish I could find that quote or who said it, because that's what resonates, which is you can have it all and yet have nothing.
yeah,
And in a way, Dion, you had nowhere to hide.
yes,
Everyone hides, whether it's quite, as a woman, literally, whether it's makeup, whether it's, my mother often says, lipstick, powder, and paint makes a woman what she ain't. But you can actually physically hide, and
yeah,
you can clearly emotionally, psychologically hide as well. So
yeah,
it's wonderful, not only in terms of talking about, unmasking, about showing up, speaking up, and shaking things the hell up.
yeah,
But there's also this concept about be more influential. And what I'd actually like to do as we introduce your book, I always find a quote, and this is the quote that I found for you, which is, that's actually not the quote. This is the quote I wanted. If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. A very famous quote, specifically talking about women, and it's Shirley Chisholm. If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair.
yeah,
So I would love for you to not just react to that, but talk about your wonderful book. And this is the part of the show where I basically turn my entire show into an homage of your book and of you, including but not limited to a logo. So you're the unofficial sponsor. This is your book, Influential Woman: A Fresh Approach to Tackling Inequality and Leading Change at Work.
yeah. I The quote is completely accurate. If you think about the marketplace, the marketplace was built by men, for men. So we're new kids on the block as women in leadership. For just even 50 years ago, in some places, 60, 70 years ago, women just were not at the table. We just weren't invited to marketplace leadership. We just were not there. And even when we started to migrate from the home and the bedroom, I might add, into these spaces, we were there in an ancillary role for a long time. But then we decided that we wanted to stay, and there was room for us to stay. And then we decided that we wanted to have better access, equal access. And we've been on that fight for equality right the way. It's been a fight. It's been a fight because we really haven't, the marketplace wasn't made for us. So we have been fighting for the right to be admitted into those rooms. We've been fighting for our seat at the table, and it's been a kind of fight. What I found is that that fight got ugly, and a lot of us as women just let go. We actually abandoned a lot of what it took, what it meant to be feminine and womanly, to try and put that mask on, match, blend in, fight like the men, push, strive, stress. And so what we have right now are women who have fought for their seat at the table, women who have done what they had to do, burnt the candle at both ends, really struggled and gone against great resistance and oppression in many cases to get that seat at the table. And so, what I see in my work right now, and why I wrote the book, is because that fight has created battle weary. That fight has created casualty. Women are burning out. Women are tired. Women's marriages are breaking down. Children are estranged. There's a lot of fallout from that pushing and pressing to get into the room. And so my fear is that at this time when we really need women to, now that we're in the room, we need to start influencing the room. We're not in great nick. We're not in great condition. And so my clients tell me story after story about what work has become this kind of battleground. You know, that it's one-upmanship game playing. It's you know, trying to, you know, where our heads are very full of how they think about us, and you know, how we're coming across, and trying to get it right. And work is a pressure. The pressure is real. Work is stressful. It's hard work, and that means, I think, that women aren't in the best place to do what we do best and birth new ideas and make things quantitatively better and qualitatively better. Like, that's what woman does. Feminine energy, feminine leadership, feminine power brings forth the new and births things, makes things qualitatively different, brings quality to the quantity. And so feminine is actually an incredibly important element, especially in a season when we're looking to transform, or we're looking to do things better, or we're looking to improve things. We need that feminine energy, but the stewards of that feminine, not that men can't bring feminine energy at all, because I mean, you've beautifully demonstrated the sensitivity of your feminine side, even just in this conversation. We all have feminine and masculine sides, but I believe that women are the stewards of the feminine. Like, we teach the world, we teach our organizations, we teach industry the feminine way and how it balances with the masculine. And without that, we get a lot of masculine. I heard an old Cherokee prophecy recently that really describes it, I think, to a T. And it describes humanity as this bird that's been flying on one wing for centuries. And the swing that it's flying on is masculine wing. So it's going around and it's flying with one wing, but because the other wing, the feminine wing, is not flying simultaneously, this wing is having to work really hard. This bird is getting stressed out, burned out, and boiled out, you know, just it's not going around, and it's going around in circles, and it's going around in circles. And the Cherokee prophecy says that the bird is angry, the bird is burning out, the bird is committing suicide, the bird is you know, beating their wife, the bird is not coping well, not doing well, the outcomes are poor because the other balancing feminine isn't working well. And so this prophecy said that now is the season that this feminine wing needs to take shape and take strength and begin to flap simultaneously, relieve this masculine on the bird of humanity, relieve it, help it, balance it. So yeah, I'm convinced that what we need right now is for womanity to rise up to a whole new dimension of influence like never before. And that's what I'm busy helping my clients to do.
Amen. You just took me and everybody watching to church. That was so super powerful, and unless I misheard you, you spoke about womanity, right?
Yes, right. Yeah.
Womanity.
Yeah.
And so I guess what that does as well is it brings up, and you know, there's so many interesting connections, by the way, Dion. One was just previous guests. I think the line was it was advice given from an ethnographic consultant.
Yeah.
And he said to a female founder, he said, "Don't forget that you are a feminine company."
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean run by women, but it means a company with feminine values.
Yeah.
Like intuition, like, you know, like being intuitive, like being empathic.
Yeah.
The other thing that's so interesting, and I think it was Ginny Dietrich was on the show, and she said, anybody that says you can have it all as a woman, said that is just BS. It's just not true. It's just not true that you can be the best wife, the best mom, and the best female executive. it's a lie that has been sold, or at least it's not. It's just not easy. And I think it comes back, to your point about this idea. And I think you said it so beautifully. The marketplace wasn't made for us.
Yeah.
So we have to, I guess, we have to recreate this marketplace. We have
Right.
to, we have to not necessarily tear it down, but maybe, as you say, build it back better.
Yeah. Yeah. And, in many respects, because the marketplace systems that we have, really well established systems, so much is not thriving as a result of the systems that we're used to. So that's why I wrote the book about tackling inequality, because inequality is presenting itself and perpetuating itself largely because of the way that we do business, largely because of the way that we recruit, the way that we set up what we call professional, what we call cultural fits. Like, these are all marketplace system elements that actually feed inequality. Whatever domain, whether it be business or the media or arts and leisure or education or science and technology or the religious leaders, or wherever people are leading, the systems that we have established actually create unequal outcomes. They support the lie, actually, that there are valuable people, superior people, better people, and inferior people, people that don't that are losers or valueless. And this unequal weighting of people, I've heard it called a caste system in a book that I'm about to read. It causes inequality, and what we really need is a way to be able to see. I think that what our recent struggles globally have really taught us is that it's no longer appropriate to think about the fact that as long as I'm okay, it doesn't matter what's happening to them over there. Like, what our recent experiences have taught us is that it really matters what's happening to them over there, even if it feels like it's okay with you over here, because what's over there is coming to your door soon. Like, we can't. We have to value human life. We have to take care of the planet. We have to see things in a more balanced way. And I think that's why we need new voices. And I'm saying women are queued up to bring those new insights to the marketplace.
I love it. I mean, new is rebirth, but new is also renewal
Right.
and dedication, rededication. I want to make sure that we touch on it in the time we have left, this hashtag, this idea, because the book uses the word influential woman. So talk about this movement, right? Be more influential.
Yeah.
It is a call to action. It is a call to arms.
Yeah.
It is very action oriented. And also this idea of what is it to be an influential woman, and certainly a woman in the workplace.
Yeah. So, often I can't tell you the number of times that I have sat. So my clients tend to come because they've got some kind of beef going on at work, or they're in some kind of conflict, or their appraisal's not going right, or they've got this senior leading role and they're feeling out of sorts. They know they're not functioning to their potential. So they come for a variety of reasons, but basically they want help to grow into their role. They want help to deal with some kind of pain point, some kind of, I say, professional pain. So when we start doing this work, I like to work. I'm a real high touch kind of coach and strategic ally. I bet you can tell. And I'm a high touch girl, and I like to say I work woman to woman. A lot of my work is one-to-one, and I work behind the mask because I like to get behind the facade that we were talking about earlier on. I want to find out what's really going on. And the number of times that I've heard women say, we're going the wrong way, we're doing it wrong. It's a system that's not working. It's something that needs to shift. And I say, well, who are you telling this? And then they say, well, they don't want to hear that, or they don't want to hear that from me, or no one else is saying, I don't see anybody else saying that, or I don't think I should be the one to say that. And that, I beg to differ. Like, you should, if that's what you're thinking in your professional experience, your whole life has given you, has developed the filters for you to be able to see in your realm and have these ideas about what things need to happen in order for us to build back better and build back stronger. That really needs to be given voice. But giving voice feels terrifying. What I found on my own unmasking journey is that we really want to make a difference. We really want to show up, speak up, and shake things the hell up. We really want to be seen and heard and taken seriously. We really want to be visible and vocal and publicly powerful. We want this, but it's also the thing that terrifies us the most. It's terrifying going against the grain. It's terrifying letting people see what you really think, or what it is that you really know, or who it is that you really are, or how it is that you really feel. Like, that is terrifying, especially in a professional context and high level context where I hang out. Like, that can be quite intimidating. And, and people say, when I say this, people often think that I'm saying that, we've got these little wallflowers who just kind of like don't say anything. Oftentimes, these women are very noisy, very vocal, they're just not being true. Their voice is masked. Their truth isn't really coming out. What they're doing is they're blending in, like I did when I wore that artificial eye and dark glasses. What they're really doing is being a cultural fit and saying what everybody else is saying, doing what everybody else is doing, kind of towing the line. And right now, we don't need people to be towing the line. We have a chance to end racism in the marketplace. We have a chance to give everyone a level playing field. We have a chance to make sure that people get to make their best contribution, to be seen, to be heard, and to be taken seriously. Like, we have this chance to give people equal access, equitable access. And it's going to take us speaking up against the grain. It's going to take us learning how to use our voice. I like to say, in order for that to happen, women who I work with, we have to go through 3 kind of distinct but very related processes. We must heal. We must heal. If you think about the history of women collectively and individually, we have stories that span hundreds of years of where we were sold as chattel, treated like second-class citizens, silenced, scrutinized, beaten, raped, abused. This is a true history. And what I found when I sit with women behind the mask, woman to woman, what I see is that their predicament in the marketplace and professional space today often has roots in old wounds, old things, old pain, old abuse. And if we are going to find our voice and bring it more powerfully, we must address that. We must do something about that. And then the second thing is we must handle our heads. I get to sit with these women behind the mask, woman to woman, and I get to hear how noisy it is in here. It's noisy in here. We're worried about how we appear. We're worried about how they think about us. We're worried about how we say it. We're worried about getting it wrong. We're worried about it. We're worried. We've got a lot of ideas going on. We have a lot of fears, a lot of anxieties. And when your head is so full of that kind of thinking, guess what you can't do? You can't be the conduit for the new that wants to come through you. It's compromised when our heads are this busy. So I say we need to heal. We need to handle our heads. And the next thing that we need to do is develop our hook. And for me, that is something about developing our messaging, formulating our ideas, giving it space and time, and packaging our ideas so that we can really present them, so that people can understand them, so that people that we want to influence can get what we want them to get, can feel and see and be inspired by and ignited by the ideas that we carry. We must be about this process. Like, influence doesn't happen by accident, or maybe it's happened by accident up until this point, but what got us here won't get us there to where we can start to challenge this system and bring about a new way of doing things so that the world is kinder and better.
You get the air horn again, and the fourth H is hallelujah, and the fifth H is hell yeah. Let me tell you something. First of all, this is what Chuck Norris had to say about you.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
So he approves as well. You know, he's one of the more enlightened men. But most importantly, I just want to say I'm so glad that you came on. I told you that at a minimum I would distract you. And you know what? I am so much richer, and so is everyone watching, to have been able to have the privilege of hearing you. I want to just leave you with one thought, Dion, which is your grandmother would be so, so proud of you. Take care, everyone. And I guess that's a wrap. And I will be back next week, and look forward to another week. But what a way to end it, Dion. You were just so influential and inspirational. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Joseph.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.